So I always appreciate listening to Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. He's enjoyable to listen to. He speaks in this kind of matter-of-fact Southern drawl, and he has this kind of common sense approach to issues. And I came across this clip of him talking about Iran and the Ayatollah and the Ayatollah's ambitions and why Iran is a threat to America. And I think with his kind of common sense approach, he raises some points that are worth keeping in focus as everyone's talking about, the negotiations and is this an American interest and why is it an American interest? So let's listen to John Kennedy. And when we come back, I have another short clip I'm going to share with you of something else, and I have my own thoughts about what he has to say here. So here is, again, this is Senator John Kennedy on the Iran situation.
About 90%, Mr. President, of my personal and political philosophy is don't hurt someone unless they're trying to hurt you first. Don't take other people's stuff and leave me alone. Let me live my life, exercising the free will and responsibility that God gave. Which leads me to my first topic, Mr. President. Iran. I'm not talking about the people of Iran. I'm talking about the political and religious leadership of the government of Iran. I'm talking about the Ayatollah and his followers. And in America, we separate government from religion. Not in Iran, thanks to the Ayatollah. The government tells you what religion to practice. The government is the religion. Now, everybody has the right to believe what they want. I'll tell you what the Ayatollah believes. He's Muslim. But his strain of Islam says that if you do not agree with his interpretation of God, then you deserve to die. You do. And he acts on that belief. Now, let me say again, the Ayatollah is entitled to believe what he wants. I was raised a Presbyterian. My parents founded 2 Presbyterian churches. When Becky and I got married, Becky was a Methodist. I was a Presbyterian. We compromised. I became a Methodist. I'm entitled to believe what I want. But the Ayatollah not only thinks that I'm going to hell because I don't agree with his religion, he wants to kill me. He wants to kill Americans and Israelis and anybody who does not believe in his jihad and drink our blood out of a boot. And he's acted on that. I don't need to tell you, Mr. President. I don't need to tell you. And he has acted on that. And that's not acceptable. Now, a lot of the people in Iran, the good people in Iran, don't agree with the Ayatollah. If they disagree with him too loudly, he just kills them. Now the Ayatollah, it's actually been the case for the last, 10, 15, 20 years. The Ayatollah has decided he wants a nuclear warhead. Why should we care? I hear from some of my fellow Americans all the time, why do we need to be involved in Iran? Why should we care? Well, number one, we're not trying to start a war in Iran. The president is trying to end the war in Iran. If the Ayatollah gets a nuclear weapon, he will use it. He could use it against America. He could use it against Israel. I don't know who he'll use it against, and I hope I'm wrong, but he will use it. And you know what else will happen? As soon as he gets a nuclear weapon, Saudi Arabia is going to get a nuclear weapon. And the UAE is going to get a nuclear weapon. And Japan's going to get a nuclear weapon. And South Korea, and I could go on and on and on. And the more nuclear weapons you have in the world, the more likely you are to have a nuclear war. But that's not the only thing the Ayatollah has done since he became the Ayatollah. He exports terrorism. He was the person behind Hamas and Hezbollah that have killed so many people throughout the world, not just in the Middle East, but across the world, including but not limited to Americans. That's why we ought to care. The Ayatollah also has conventional ballistic missiles and is building more as we speak. Now, those missiles can't reach America yet, but they're working on one. And they can sure reach our military bases in the Middle East. And they can sure reach Israel. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's why we should care. And finally, the Ayatollah, if you disagree with him, and we've seen it happen on TV, we don't know how many people he's hung in the last 6 months. We don't know how many people he's tortured. I've seen estimates as high as 50,000. So that's what this business with Iran is all about. We're not trying to be the world's policeman. We're trying to stop the Ayatollah from being the world's policeman, who's getting a lot of support from President Xi Jinping in China and Vladimir Putin in Russia and Kim Jong-un in North Korea. So that's where we find ourselves, trying to stop this war. And to the Ayatollah, I would say, Ayatollah, you're entitled to believe what you want. You can hate me. You can believe that. I know you hate me and what I stand for. You know how I sleep at night knowing that you hate me? With the fan on. That's your right. But you can't act on that belief. Put down the nuclear weapons. Put down the nuclear enrichment. Stop exporting terrorism to Hamas and Hezbollah. End your missile program. Stop killing and torturing your people. That's all we want. And he's doing that as we speak. He's at war. We're trying to stop it. I'm not about to tell the president, give the president any advice. He has intelligence that I don't have. And I respect the fact that he's being very, very, very deliberate and careful in making a decision. If we make a deal with Iran, let's make sure we have a protocol to enforce it. Because my experience in watching the Ayatollah through the years, I wouldn't trust this man if he was 3 days dead. I wouldn't trust him if he was 3 days dead. Anybody whose religion tells them that in order to be saved, they've got to go kill hundreds of millions of people, you can believe it if you want. But as far as I'm concerned, it's time to get a new religion. And that's what we're doing in Iran. Let me say it again. We're not trying to start a war. This war began a long time ago. We're trying to end it. Our president presiding today knows exactly what I talked about.
Right. So that's Senator John Kennedy. There we go. Now, just a couple points about what he said here. First, when he talked about how, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, then it means that all these other countries are going to get a nuclear weapon. I'm not so sure about that argument. A lot of countries are trying to get nuclear weapons, and I don't know if it's dependent on Iran getting one. But I will make this point that he didn't make, which we should keep in mind, okay? And this is good for these conversations about what's so dangerous about Iran getting a nuclear weapon. Iran has proxies, right? Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hezbollah Venezuela, Hezbollah Paraguay. This is a point that's lost on a lot of people, the connection between the nuclear issue and the proxy issue. If Iran gets nuclear weaponry, if it has weapons grade uranium and it can put together a nuclear warhead, that means it could also create smaller tactical nuclear weapons. It means that it could put nuclear weapons in the hands of its proxies. And it means that you have terrorist organizations with smaller tactical nuclear weapons as well. Nuclear weapons are not just a big warhead that gets fired on the tip of a missile. Okay? There's other smaller forms of nuclear weapons and dirty bombs and things. So preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is also preventing its entire terrorist network from getting nuclear weapons. That's a very important point. But the larger point that he was making here about just kind of pulling back the camera and like, look, these people have a religious belief that believes that we're all infidels and want to kill us. And this brings up an issue that I talk about all the time, but we have to get it into our heads. The conviction to destroy evil, the conviction that people who are good must destroy evil people and fight against them. That conviction that led Franklin Delano Roosevelt to declare that World War II would only end with unconditional surrender. We have to regain that conviction. Because all of this, like, well, you know, how much of a threat are they? How far away are they from a nuclear weapon? And is this really in American interest? And can they be contained? And can we make a deal? All this does is kick the can down the road and ensure that future generations will have to deal with this regime. Forget about what they're doing to their people. It's a lack of conviction about destroying evil. Why tolerate it? Why allow it to be there? And that's why I appreciate so much this common sense approach. It almost seems simplistic the way he's saying it, but it's actually a very deep point, and and if it wasn't so absent in the thinking of so many people in media and in leadership, it wouldn't need to be made because it's so simplistic. They want to kill us. They mean it. So regardless of how far along they are in the process of getting a nuclear weapon, it's our responsibility to stop it. And this reminds me of, this is a clip I think about a lot. It reminds me of a pretty famous clip of Prime Minister Netanyahu long before he was prime minister. And you know, well, I'll just let it speak for itself. Maybe you've seen this already. Here.
There's a story about two people who walk in the forest and are suddenly confronted by a grizzly bear charging at them. One of them begins to run away. The other asks him, "Why are you running? Don't you know you can't outrun a grizzly bear?" And the man running turns around and he says, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I have to outrun you." That's the attitude, I think, of some in the West. They think that they can run away from the grizzly bear of terrorism and leave a few countries behind to be gobbled up by it. But in fact, no one can outrun it. The only thing you can do with this phenomenon is to turn around, squarely face it, confront it, and defeat it. And you can only do that together.
That says it all, folks. We have a moral issue that is facing Western civilization. Besides the threats, the particular political situation, we have a moral conviction issue that we need to face the evil and we need to defeat it. That's it. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of this. And please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Tell people what we're doing on this channel if you find it valuable. And please check out everything that is going on at Israel 365. I want to make particular mention of a trip to Israel that's happening in April. I believe that the first day of it is April 15th, a 9-day trip to Israel that Israel 365 is running. Go to Israel 365 Tours. Just type that in as one word, or go to the Israel 365 website and scroll over to where the tours are, and you'll find this tour. And if you can't find that, just drop me a line at my email address is Pesach, P-E-S-A-C-H at Israel365.com. You can drop me a line there, and I'll pass you on to the people who are running the trip. But it's going to be a phenomenal trip to Israel. I know it's pretty soon, but there's a few spots left. They let me know that, so I'm telling you about it. God bless.